In 1966, the U.S. Army built one of its largest bases in Vietnam, 30 kilometers northwest of Saigon. Thousands of soldiers, helicopters, artillery, tanks, fortified perimeter, watchtowers, floodlights. By every measure, impenetrable. And every single night, soldiers inside it were dying. Same pattern every time. Darkness falls. Somewhere inside the perimeter, an explosion, gunfire, chaos. By the time soldiers respond, it's over. No retreating figures, no trails, no bodies. Just dead Americans and silence. For months, commanders swept the jungle, found nothing. Then one patrol found a hole, small, hidden under leaves. An engineer got on his hands and knees, shined a light inside. The tunnel went down, turned, disappeared into darkness. He stood up. "Sir, I think we found the problem." What nobody knew yet was that beneath this base, beneath the barracks, beneath the mess hall, there were 250 kilometers of tunnels. Birth of an underground city. The Cu Chi tunnels didn't start as a military operation. They started as a way to survive French bombs in the 1940s. The Viet Minh, the independence movement, dug simple hiding holes, just deep enough to avoid shrapnel, just small enough to hide a few people. By the time the Americans arrived, the tunnels had been growing for 20 years. The soil under Cu Chi made it possible. Red laterite clay, hard as concrete when dry, doesn't collapse under pressure, doesn't flood easily, doesn't crumble when bombs hit nearby. The Vietnamese didn't choose this location by accident. They chose it because the ground itself was a building material. The tools were simple: short-handled hoes, wicker baskets, human hands, nothing else. Workers dug at night to avoid French patrols, carried the excavated soil away in baskets, scattered it across fields so aerial reconnaissance wouldn't spot fresh dirt piles. Every entrance was camouflaged. Some were submerged in ponds. You had to dive underwater to find them. The openings were deliberately tiny, just 60 centimeters wide, large enough for a small Vietnamese person to squeeze through, small enough that no American soldier could follow easily. When the Americans arrived in the early 1960s, the basic network already existed. But the Viet Cong understood immediately what they were dealing with. The most powerful military in history. Overwhelming firepower. Complete air superiority. Fighting them above ground was suicide, so they went below it. They expanded the tunnels aggressively, dug deeper, added new sections, connected villages, connected supply routes, connected everything. They built 3 levels. The first level, 3 meters down. Shallow enough for quick access. Deep enough to survive standard artillery. The second level, 6 meters down. Safer during heavier bombardment. The third level, 9 meters down. Designed to survive direct hits from the largest conventional bombs in the American arsenal. Each level connected by vertical shafts with trap doors between them. If Americans flooded the top level, they dropped to the second. If they gassed the second, they dropped to the third. The system had an answer for everything. Act 2, the city below ground. But the tunnels weren't just escape routes, they were a city, a fully functioning underground city. At its peak, Up to 10,000 people lived underground at Cu Chi simultaneously. They were born there, married there, died there. An entire society operating 9 meters below the boots of American soldiers walking above them. And those American soldiers had absolutely no idea. Hospitals with operating tables where surgeons worked by candlelight. They performed amputations, removed shrapnel, delivered babies, all without electricity or modern anesthesia. Kitchens with ventilation systems so cleverly designed that smoke was channeled horizontally through hundreds of meters of tunnel before emerging far from any entrance. Impossible to locate from above, the Americans never found a single cooking fire by its smoke. Weapons factories where captured American ammunition was recycled into new weapons. Unexploded bombs were carefully disassembled. The explosives were reused. The metal casings became booby traps. Nothing was wasted. The Americans were supplying their enemy without knowing it. Wells provided fresh water. Sleeping quarters housed thousands. Propaganda newspapers were printed on makeshift presses. Children were born underground and never saw daylight for months. Couples married in candlelit ceremonies. The dead were buried in secret graves somewhere in the jungle above. Life went on, and above them, the most powerful military in history searched for ghosts. Act 3. The Spiral of Failure. The U.S. Army tried everything to destroy the Cu Chi tunnels. Nothing worked. First attempt, bombing. In 1965, Operation Rolling Thunder began. B-52 bombers dropped thousands of tons of explosives across Cu Chi district. The surface was unrecognizable afterward. Trees gone, craters everywhere. The Americans looked at the aerial photos and saw total destruction. What they couldn't see was 9 meters below. The bottom level was untouched. The Viet Cong had simply moved deeper during the raids, waited for the bombing to stop, then came back up. Second attempt, Agent Orange, a chemical defoliant sprayed from aircraft across entire regions. Strips every leaf from every tree, destroys crops, eliminates jungle cover. Entire forests died within days. The landscape turned brown and lifeless, and the tunnels underneath, completely unaffected. You can kill every tree above a tunnel. The tunnel doesn't care. Third attempt, flooding. Engineers pumped water directly into tunnel entrances. Simple, effective. Except the Viet Cong had anticipated this. Between every major section, they installed watertight trapdoors. When water entered one section, they sealed it off. The flooded section was sacrificed. The rest stayed dry. American engineers pumped thousands of gallons into Cu Chi. They flooded maybe 2% of the total network. The other 98% continued operating normally. Fourth attempt, gas. Pump poison gas into the tunnels. It spreads through the entire network. Nobody survives, except the tunnels were too long and too complex for gas to travel effectively. Fifth attempt, dogs. Specially trained German shepherds. Find tunnel entrances by scent. Except the Viet Cong learned about the dogs quickly. They began rubbing American soap and pepper around tunnel entrances. Handlers watched their dogs walk directly over hidden entrances without reacting. The dog program was quietly abandoned. Every single method the most powerful military in the world could devise had been defeated by people with shovels, wooden panels, and pepper. So the Americans made a decision that nobody who made it would ever forget. If technology can't solve this problem, send in a human. Act 4. The Tunnel Rats. Someone small enough to fit through a 60-centimeter hole, armed with nothing but a pistol and a flashlight. The U.S. Army needed men with specific physical characteristics: small, lean, narrow shoulders. They looked for the smallest men in the division. They called themselves tunnel rats. No helmet, no body armor, no rifle. You couldn't aim a rifle in a tunnel that narrow. Couldn't turn it around if something came from behind. So they left everything above ground. What they found inside was beyond anything they had been briefed on. Punji sticks, sharpened bamboo stakes coated in poison or feces, buried in shallow pits covered with thin layers of dirt. Bamboo vipers in clay pots rigged to door frames. Open the door, the pot falls. The snake lands on you in complete darkness. Scorpion boxes hung from ceilings on threads too thin to see. Fire ants released throughout entire sections. Not deadly, but impossible to move through quietly when thousands of ants are biting every exposed piece of skin. Beyond the traps, there were people. Viet Cong soldiers who knew these tunnels better than their own villages, who could navigate them in complete darkness at speeds that seemed impossible. Firefights happened at distances of 2 to 3 meters, sometimes less, in complete or near complete darkness. The psychological toll was unlike anything else in the Vietnam War. Above ground, soldiers dealt with fear, exhaustion, loss. Below ground, they dealt with something older and more fundamental: the fear of enclosed spaces, the fear of darkness, the fear of not knowing what was 6 inches in front of your face.
What you do down there is vital. And remember that valor isn't just bravery.
Here's the final score. 9 years, billions of dollars. The most advanced military technology ever assembled. Against peasants with shovels and short-handled hoes, the peasants won. By 1975, when the last American forces left Vietnam, the Cu Chi tunnel system was still operational, still intact, still functioning exactly as it was designed to function. 250 kilometers of hand-dug tunnels had outlasted the full military and technological might of the United States of America. The human cost was staggering. The 25th Infantry Division, stationed at Cu Chi Base Camp, suffered some of the highest casualty rates of any American unit in Vietnam. Thousands killed or wounded, many by an enemy they never saw, coming from a direction they never expected, disappearing back into the ground before anyone could respond. The Viet Cong losses were catastrophic too. Tens of thousands of people who lived and fought in the Cu Chi system died there. The Cu Chi tunnels proved something fundamental. The United States had every technological advantage: air power, firepower, resources. The Viet Cong had dirt, shovels, and nowhere else to go. And when you have nowhere else to go, you go underground. You dig. You survive. You wait. Because the most powerful weapon in any war isn't the most advanced technology. It's the willingness to keep going when everything above ground has been taken away from you. The Cu Chi tunnels are still there, 250 kilometers of them, dug by hand, and they outlasted everything. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Thank you.